Now to News 3's special report. It's been more than a decade since a 2-year-old foster child disappeared from her North Las Vegas home.
Well, thanks to new technology, North Las Vegas detectives are hoping for new leads. News 3's Gabby Hart has an update on this cold case.
Well, it was a missing child case that shocked the Valley area. A 2-year-old vanishing in the dead of the night. Detectives, volunteers, and her biological family searched desperately for answers, but to no avail. Her foster parents stopped cooperating with police after day 1, and 13 years later, the question still remains. What happened to Everlyse Cabrera? Everlyse Cabrera. Her name still rings bells throughout the North Las Vegas Police Department.
Everyone knows about it kind of through the grapevine from those original officers.
On June 10, 2006, the 2-year-old vanished from her North Las Vegas foster home in the middle of the night.
About 1 a.m., Everlyse was last seen in her bedroom.
Her foster parents V and Manuel Carrasco told police that when they checked on the toddler around 8 a.m., she was gone.
She found that Everlyse was missing about 7:30 in the morning. And she reported that the door was partially open, the front door of the home was partially open with a small chair pushed up against it, and that the child had most likely wandered out of the home.
North Las Vegas detective Stephen Weiss says officers working the case back then searched high and low looking for Everlyse.
I can tell you an extensive investigation was done of the neighborhood.
Volunteers from the community also got involved in the search. Everlyse's biological parents, who lost custody of her, came in from California and handed out flyers in a desperate effort to find their child.
We need to know what happened to her, and we want her back.
Everlyse's foster family stopped cooperating with police.
The last time that the foster family spoke to the police was the day of the disappearance.
Now, more than 13 years later, Everlyse is still considered a missing person. What happened to Everlyse Cabrera?
We don't know if she's a 15-year-old girl out there somewhere or if something bad happened to her in 2006.
According to the Charlie Project, which is a national missing persons network, troubling reports surfaced about her foster family. The Charlie Project claims the Carrasco's home was owned by their adult son, who also lived there at the time of the toddler's disappearance. He wasn't licensed to foster and was never given a criminal background check. The network also says Everlyse's biological family sued the foster parents and Clark County in 2006. When questioned in court about Everlyse's disappearance, the couple exercised their Fifth Amendment right to not testify. The case settled for $300,000 and released her foster family from any future civil liability. Robert Lowry is vice president of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
Something probably very tragic occurred, but the fact is we don't know.
Detective Weiss agrees.
A 2-year-old wandering out of a home at the middle of the night is significant. But then also, she was never found. So that would also mean that some perpetrator or something would have also had to come around at the exact same time.
Whatever happened, the National Center for Missing Children says they never give up hope. In fact, using a combination of art and science, they created this age progression sketch of what Everlyse would look like today at 15 years old.
Sadly, Everlyse's case is not that unique. We have many, many cases like that across the country. Frankly, our teams are working probably 3,000 to 4,000 similar type of cases with similar circumstances.
Lowry says there's still a chance, no matter how slim, that Everlyse is alive and somewhere out there.
We've seen cases like Everlyse's that children have come back home, although it's extremely rare.
Detective Weiss says now that this case has landed on his desk, he's determined to find out what happened to Everlyse Cabrera.
We do not close this case. We have not closed this case, and we're actively looking for Everlyse Cabrera. Someone knows. There are people out there who have the information that would lead to what happened to Everlyse. We just need them to tell us.
Well, we couldn't track down Everlyse's foster family. Detective Weiss says anyone who heard or saw something back then and thought that maybe your tip wouldn't matter, this is the time to come forward, because you never know what that little piece of information could lead to. I'm Gabby Hart, reporting.